The strange part wasn't that the lake was perfectly still. It was that it reflected a sky that no longer existed. There was no wind at all and no ripples on the surface. And yet the water seemed to be watching quietly. Somewhere beneath the surface, something was already wrong and waiting. Tonight, we step quietly into another forgotten mystery, a place where questions linger longer than answers. The air feels older here, as if the past is waiting just beyond the edge of light. Settle in slowly, because the mystery has already been waiting for you. High in the northern hills, far from cities and far from cell towers, sits a lake without a name. Locals simply call it the water, as if any further description would be dangerous. No signs point toward it, and no marked trails officially lead there. But for decades, people have arrived at the lake, and some of them have not returned. The first recorded incident happened on a calm autumn morning in 1987. A fisherman vanished without disturbing the water in any visible way. His boat was still tied gently to the shore. But that was only the first thing that didn't make sense. Over the years, disappearances followed a pattern that refused to stay consistent. Sometimes years passed quietly between incidents. Sometimes only months separated them. It was always one person at a time. It was always silent and without witnesses. Search teams found no struggle, no damage, and no sound of entry into the lake. The water never froze in winter, not even during deep cold. The water never warmed in summer under harsh sun. And it never gave anything back. Old land records revealed the lake did not exist a century ago. The valley once held a small settlement with 37 residents. There was a schoolhouse, modest homes, and a small chapel. Then, in a single year, the settlement vanished from census records. Maps were quietly redrawn without explanation. And where homes once stood, water appeared instead. No flood was ever recorded in the region. No dam was built upstream. The lake simply arrived, fully formed and unquestioned. Elderly locals remember being warned as children about the place. They were told not to swim in the water. They were told not to look too long at their reflection. They said the water could confuse time itself. Animals avoided the lake instinctively without training. Birds never landed on its surface, even during migration. And compasses spun slowly when brought near the shore. In 2004, a hiker's backpack was found resting neatly on a rock by the water. Inside the bag was a small handwritten journal. The final entry described a sensation of déjà vu. It spoke of memories that felt borrowed rather than lived. The last line ended in the middle of a sentence, as if the writer had simply stepped away. The ink was completely dry. The page was untouched by water or weather. Satellite images later added another layer of unease. On certain dates, the lake reflected cloud patterns from days earlier, as if the surface was delayed in time, as if it remembered skies that had already passed. Weather stations nearby recorded brief temperature drops without cause. Minutes later, everything returned to normal readings. Nothing in the data explained it. 2 hikers once reported seeing a figure standing in the lake, not submerged and not floating, just standing upright in the water. Later, both retracted their statements independently. Each claimed they could no longer remember why they were there. Neither of them ever returned to the lake again. But the next discovery would change everything they thought they understood. A research team eventually attempted sonar mapping of the lake. The lake had no measurable bottom within expected limits. The signal vanished beyond the maximum tested depth. When the equipment was retrieved, internal clocks were desynchronized. Some devices showed minutes missing entirely. Others showed hours added without explanation. The data contradicted itself at every level, but none of it prepared them for what they found next. During a final scan, a faint structure appeared beneath the water. Straight lines emerged briefly on the display. Angles appeared that were too precise for nature. Then the image dissolved completely. The lake returned to perfect stillness. No explanation followed the event. No second scan ever succeeded. The moment passed and refused to be repeated. Some believe the lake sits atop a rare geological fault, a place where electromagnetic interference disrupts human perception. This could explain the spinning compasses. It could explain the strange time distortions. But it fails to explain the structure beneath the water. And it does not explain why people vanish without disturbance. Others suggest the original village collapsed into a massive sinkhole, that the lake swallowed it whole in silence. Echoes of walls may still remain below the surface. Reflections might bleed backward through time. But no debris was ever recovered from the lake. No artifacts ever surfaced. And water does not erase history so cleanly. A quieter theory proposes the lake alters human cognition, that it does not take bodies at all. Only attention. People step forward and forget to step back. Yet this cannot explain physical disappearances, or why no remains have ever been found. The lake remains exactly where it is, unlabeled and unclaimed by any authority. It reflects skies that no longer exist. It remembers things the land has forgotten, and perhaps it does not hide answers at all. It only preserves questions. Maybe the truth was never lost. Maybe it is simply waiting. If something can remember what we've erased, which theory feels closest to the truth for you?